The National Basketball All-Star Game is a basketball exhibition game hosted every February by the NBA and showcases 24 of the league's star players. That was taken from a Wikipedia post about the NBA All-Star Game, and just by reading that post, I would say that every single thing on there is pretty much accurate. However, for years, the NBA All-Star Game has faced a little bit of controversy just because people think that their favorite NBA player was a snub, and as a longtime Phoenix Suns fan, I can definitely testify for this. For years, Devin Booker would be one of the best young players in the game, and he would not get selected to the All-Star Game just because he played on a bad team, which I do not fully agree with, but I do see to a point. And as the NBA All-Star voting ballots have started to come out, I decided that I wanted to do mine a little different. So in this video, I am going to be using numbers to detect who should be in the NBA All-Star starting lineups. The numbers I will be using are some important stats that you mostly know, like points per game and maybe assist numbers, and some are based on your record, whether you have a 500 record or not, and some are based on some advanced statistics. Now this video is going to be split into two parts. One part being the Western Conference front court and back court, and for the Western Conference, basically the same thing. And of course, before I get into the video, if you guys could leave a like on this and subscribe to the channel if you know with notifications on. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel by the end of the year, and your subscription would be greatly appreciated. Let's get into the video. And before I do start this video, I want to give a shout out to Jimmy High Roller. I was inspired by his using numbers to detect the NBA 75 list. I will put the link in the description below to that video if you guys do want to check that out. And if you love my content, then no doubt in my mind you're going to love his just as much. Now to begin with this, we're going to start off with the Eastern Conference just because E comes before W. That's really the only reason why. Now for starters, let's go over the scoring system. You get 3 points for being the best in your set category, 2 points for being in the top 3, and 1 point for being in the top 5. Tiebreakers are determined by who has more win shares per 48. Now I used a total of 8 statistics, and these statistics were points per game, assist, rebounds, the average field goal percentage, if your team had a 500 record or not, your win shares, your PER, and your box plus minus. Now in order to get these players, I went on the NBA All-Star voting website and I looked at the top 10 players for the selections. They do it by front court and back court, so it's going to be a little weird when it comes to the front court, but I'll make sure I explain it when we get to that point. Starting off with the guards, I had the guys that I thought that were going to be in this, and those are guys like Trae Young and DeMar DeRozan. I'm going just the starters, so those were the two that I assumed would be in the starting lineup, and as it turns out, I would be right. Now coming in first place, we had Trae Young with 15 points, and in second place, we had DeMar DeRozan, which if you've been checking these guys out would not shock you, as both have been playing like MVP candidates, especially DeMar DeRozan as of lately. Now I won't lie, some of these players and where they placed kind of shocked me. For example, Tyler Hero is a guy that a lot of people really thought he developed, as so did myself. I mean, he's been putting up a lot of better numbers, but yet he came in last place with just 1 point. Now obviously a quick disclaimer is that this is not a foolproof system. I'm sure anyone watching this at home could come up with a better system than mine, but this was just something that I thought of, and these were stats that I thought were personally important. On the contrary, seeing a guy like Trae Young be number 1 in points really did not shock me. He led in points per game and assist numbers and other stuff like PER. And a lot of people have been saying that Trae Young is one of the best point guards in the game, and if you're looking at it from the Eastern Conference, I think there's no question he's the best point guard, but when we get into the West, yeah, it's pretty deep over there. So as my first 2 votes, I'm going to go with Trae Young and DeMar DeRozan as my starters for the Eastern Conference guards. Now for the Eastern Conference front court, I knew guys like Giannis and Joel Embiid were going to be in there. And of course, in the front court, there are 3 positions instead of 2, so I have to go with 3 guys. So for the third guy, I was going to go with a guy like Kevin Durant, who shockingly to no one's surprise is having yet an amazing season. But if we look at it compared to Giannis, it's really not all that. In first place, we do have Giannis, who had the best box plus minus and the best win shares, on top of having an amazing PER, which is one of the best in the league. Again, seeing guys like Kevin Durant and Joel Embiid here is not a surprise, as they are some of the best, not only in the Eastern Conference, but in the NBA as a whole. I will say that I definitely do believe that this graph will definitely show how deep that the Western Conference is compared to the East, because when you do look at these numbers at first, you're probably going to think, okay, these aren't that bad, these are pretty good numbers. When we get to the West, you're going to be very shocked. As me, who was making the video, had the same reaction, but I think it has been a stigma for the longest time that the Western Conference is better than the East. So with all that being said, my 3 guys that are going to be in the Eastern Conference front court are going to be Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Joel Embiid, which concludes my team for the Eastern Conference. And I have to say that so far, I'm not really shocked with what's been going on with these numbers. If I was making an all-star ballot any day of the week, I would probably pick all of these guys. However, I do suspect that we will have something a little more different in the Western Conference. But before we can get into the Western Conference, hey y'all, this video is sponsored by Manscaped.com, the global brand for men's grooming and hygiene products. Now, I've been using Manscaped for about a month, and I have to say my favorite product from them has to be the Performance Package 4.0, which gives you a variety of products such as their lawnmower 4.0 with skin safe technology and a 7,000 RPM motor. It also does have a light on it so you can see while you're grooming in the shower so you don't cut yourself. On top of that, you can see the battery on the lawnmower 4.0 as it's just glowing up. Next up, we have their ball deodorant, aka the crop preserver. However, if you're not into ball deodorant, you can use their crop reviver, which is basically a ball tone spray. Personally, I use the reviver a lot more, but that's just me. In addition to these items, you'll be getting some Manscaped boxers, and on top of that, you get a shed travel bag. On top of that, I do have a promo code for you guys, so if you guys use code Spex, you'll be getting 20% off your order and international free shipping. Guys, code Spex 20% off, plus that international free shipping. Thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring this video and the channel for the past couple months. Guys, trust me, your balls will thank you. Now, it was in the Western Conference when I knew that things would be getting interesting. For the guards, I knew guys like Ja Morant and Steph Curry were going to be in this, and it turns out that it proves my point about the Western Conference and how it is so deep. So in first place was Steph Curry, which again did not shock me, but seeing Ja Morant in second really does show that he's right there with Steph Curry in that MVP race. And on the website, it had Chris Paul barely in the top 8 of players, but for some reason he's in the top 3. So realistically, he probably will make the All-Star game, but he wouldn't be a starter in this situation. However, we're only focusing on starters, so my votes are going to be Steph Curry and Ja Morant for the Western Conference guards. Now for the front court, I have to say that this was the most interesting part of this video. So obviously some people came to mind like Nikola Jokic, LeBron James, Karl Anthony Towns, maybe even Anthony Davis. Now, obviously, just like the Eastern Conference front court, we gotta go with 3 people. However, in this situation, positions got weird. See, my philosophy has always been for some reason that power forwards could play center, but centers can't play power forward. And I legitimately cannot tell you the reason that I have that stigma. I absolutely don't know why. It's just the way my mind has always thought. And with the numbers that I got for this part of the video, I have to say that I really don't know how I'm gonna do this. Now, before I reveal the last part of this video, if you guys could leave a like on this if you already haven't already and subscribe to the channel. And number 2, again, I need to remind you that these are based off stats. With that being said, according to the statistics, Nikola Jokic by far was easily the best player this season. According to every stat I use, and that's for PER, which he went crazy on, win shares, rebounding numbers, every single important stat, he was mostly in the top 3. And because of that, he scored 20 points, which was the most by any player in the scoring system. Now, LeBron James does not shock me. He's a top player and he's definitely playing like his old self. In fact, some people say that he can even be an MVP candidate. But as the biggest Phoenix Suns fan on YouTube, I have to say that I'm kind of shocked that DeAndre Ayton was on this list. And not because he's not a top 5 center like I've been trying to say for the past couple years. But I mean, when we look at it, these statistics say that he is the 3rd best center in the NBA. I'm not gonna lie, that 62% from the field kind of did throw me off. But when you look at the types of shots that he's taken, it really isn't that far off. So with all those numbers that you just saw on the screen, my front court is going to be consisting of Nikola Jokic, LeBron James, and most importantly, DeAndre Ayton. And with all things considered, I would like to show you guys my final ballot. I do have to say that a couple things did surprise me, like seeing DeAndre Ayton in this, but other than that, a lot of these numbers do make sense. Now, if this was me, I honestly think that this would be my all-star vote, besides maybe not DeAndre Ayton, only because I'm trying my best not to be biased, even though I voted for Devin Booker like 20 different times throughout these last couple days. In the comment section below, I want you guys to tell me what your all-star ballot is looking like. And with that being said, if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you do leave a like on this and subscribe to the channel if you're new with notifications on. With all that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. Have an amazing day. Take care. Peace.